So now I'll read 1 Corinthians 10, 18 through 20. So this is Paul. He's talking about the same thing. He says, "Consider the people of Israel. Do not these who eat the sacrifices participate in the altar? Do I mean then that food sacrificed to an idol is anything, or that an idol is anything?" So he's saying, is an idol anything? Mm-hmm. Is a statue anything? He says, no. But the sacrifices of the pagans are offered to demons, not to God. And I do not want you to participate with demons. Mm-hmm. So he's saying this sacrificing to idols are actually sacrificed to demons. So these idols represent demons. So they represent actual spirit beings. So these idols are representing the fallen angels. So these gods, these other gods that they worship, are actual beings. They're fallen angels. Mm-hmm. That are also referred to as Elohim. So these are the gods, lowercase g, are demons, are fallen angels. And so that is why God would always get mad with the Israelites. It's like kind of throughout the whole Old Testament, because every time he turned around, they'd go back to sacrificing to these idols, to these demons, in place of God. So they were sacrificing to, so each nation had a particular demon that it was sacrificed to. So usually when we think of idolatry, we kind of think about what you mentioned, that they built in a statue and they're just worshiping the statue. They just made up something. They built a statue and now they're worshiping it. But we see now that it's not, it was more than that. It's the same way. It's like when Catholics worship the statue of Mary, they're not just worshiping a statue. The statue represents an actual being that exists that they're worshiping. So in the same way, when they worship the idols worshiped actual demons that they worshiped. So they weren't just worshiping statues. They were worshiping, as Paul says, they were worshiping devils and worshiping demons. So back from the time of the Tower of Babel, various nations were worshiping their own national gods along with other gods. The Hebrews also took part in this culture. So then God chose Abraham to separate out a group of people to worship him alone. He gave them peculiar customs, traditions, so that they'll be distinguishable from other nations. Mm-hmm. You know, you have a Sabbath, you must be circumcised. He gave them customs and traditions to make them stand out and be set apart. He commanded them not to intermarry with those who worshiped other gods in order to keep them from the idols and foreign worship from the household. The encounter with Abraham began God's plan to eventually bring all nations back to him. This was accomplished by sending his son Jesus to earth through a lineage of Abraham. Jesus' death allowed all nations to inherit the one true God, Yahweh, as our God. We now have the ability to not only worship God, but also develop a personal relationship with him. The pagans built idols and structures with the hopes of bringing their God down to earth. The Babylonians built structures with the hopes of reaching their gods. The Israelites built a temple in which God dwelt. We as Christians now have the ability to have God dwell within us. Mm-hmm.